Antibiotic resistance is the ability for germs such as bacteria to develop the ability to avoid being eradicated by antibiotics. As for some molecular mechanisms in the cell that have led to antibiotic resistance, include horizontal gene transfer, which is the transfer or the spread of DNA from one cell to another, while the other secondary mechanism would be mutation, which could be due to various types of mutations such as insertion, deletion, that could alter it and give that particular bacterial cell the ability to not die when in contact with the antibiotic. As for how does the use of antibiotics play a role in the spread of antibiotic resistance, this is due to the resistance being driven by the bacteria that's exposed to the antibiotic. Such as if, let's say you give someone an antibiotic and they have, some bacterial cells present, and let's say a good chunk of them do, unfortunately get eradicated, or fortunately get eradicated, but then some are remaining. Those ones that, let's say perhaps they have like a mutation that allows them to be resistant to the antibiotic, and then they get to live on, then they get to grow more, and then that allows the infection to continue despite, even though the numbers originally were eradicated by the antibiotic, since they were exposed to the antibiotic and lived, they were able to further reproduce and, through binary fission and create more, which causes more of an issue. As for consequences of spread of antibiotic resistance, there's quite a few to name. They can cause issues such as being unable to treat certain infections due to an individual having a type of infection that it cannot be solved by antibiotics, which has been happening more and more frequently due to, over the years, antibiotic resistant bacteria being more prevalent. So this could cause issues down the road with being able to treat certain things, as well as having to create additional antibiotics or try different ones in order to solve that issue, which years ago when, penicillin was first discovered, it was able to treat everything easily because the bacteria cells did not have resistance to it yet because they weren't ever exposed to it. So having all this resistance slowly building up is going to cause issues down the road with treating further things in the medical field. Also, for what kind of practices should be done to promote, preventing antibiotic resistance, the do's and don'ts. I guess per se for the do's would be to limit the use of various antibiotics and only do them for specific situations, or do them for ones where there's been appropriate tests to show like, yeah, this type of antibiotic will in particular treat this certain infection, not just blindly doing a general antibiotic because it could cause more issues down the road for that individual. So if you go ahead and just target specifically what they have, that will solve the issue. So it would require more testing, not just blindly prescribing an antibiotic. And then so that would be for the don't/do's. So the other thing would be to just do more research, and just see like what other antibiotics just can't be used for certain types of infections, just to broaden the general knowledge of the medical staff to see what would be most appropriate, and just additional testing just to make sure we're not blindly prescribing antibiotics that aren't necessary. Such as, for example, for urinalysis, they could do a urine culture, see exactly what bacteria cells are present, see exactly what type of antibiotic versus just doing a general amoxicillin, cephalexin, seeing exactly what will treat it appropriately. So that way you not only give resolution to the patient, but you also go ahead and slow down the spread of it. As well as some other things that could be done is, in certain states, regulations could be monitored to where you can't just blindly prescribe an antibiotic. You need to have direct cause, such as, this testing shows, such as in the urinalysis example, that you need this certain one. And then that way we can prevent that issue from just being able to prescribe anything that medical professional would like to do.